have been.
Which
I
soldier?
know they have been.
Which soldier was
prosecuted
for dropping a grenade on a child?
There are dozens
You're lying
of them who,
on national TV. Piers Morgan can come back on the next episode and tell everyone that you're not telling the truth.
Dozens of them have been prosecuted.
Not a single Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child. That is a lie. A demonstrable lie. Everyone watching right now.
Hang on. Okay, stop whatever you're doing right now, because what you're about to watch is one of those moments that you genuinely cannot look away from. You know that feeling when someone gets caught in a lie, not a small lie, but a big, confident, on national television lie, and then they just keep going? That's exactly what happens here. Alan Dershowitz, one of the most famous lawyers in American history, walks onto this show fully confident. He's done this 1,000 times. He knows how to talk, he knows how to spin. But today Mehdi Hasan came prepared, and I mean really prepared. So before you skip ahead, I'm telling you right now, stay for the moment at the 1 minute 28 second mark. Because when Mehdi asks him one simple question, just one, and Dershowitz's answer comes out, you're going to have to rewind it. I promise you that.
And so much nonsense there was said about violence and killings by someone, as I say, who's volunteered to defend Netanyahu at the International Criminal Court, where he's been indicted with the former Israeli defense minister for war crimes.
I'm proud of that.
And crimes against humanity. Of course you're proud of it, because you don't value Palestinian life. Let's just deal with some things you said. Number one, you talked about deals and negotiations. Gershon Baskin, who is the only Israeli negotiator to have ever successfully negotiated with Hamas, keeps saying, he said it just the other day, go check his Twitter feed, that he has communications from Hamas saying, we have offered the Israeli government a full ceasefire. We will leave government. We will not govern Gaza. We will return all the hostages in return for a permanent ceasefire. Israel doesn't want a permanent ceasefire because Smotrich and others want 60 days and then they go back to the killing when the hostages are released. He's offered a permanent end to the war. Israel doesn't want a permanent end to the war. That's what Baskin is saying. Secondly, you talk about killing of kids.
I would like that.
You talk about killing of kids. I mean, the Israeli military does intentionally kill
children.
Deliberate. Let's read 972. Israeli publication interviewed 7 Israeli soldiers and officers, peers, who returned from Gaza. Just last week, in several cases, the soldier said, Israeli troops deliberately targeted children. There was a boy who entered the zone. He didn't do anything. Other soldiers claimed to have seen him standing, talking to people. That's it.
And
they dropped a grenade from a drone. In another incident, soldiers tried to kill a child riding a bicycle.
And they get prosecuted for it.
So they have not been prosecuted, Alan. Don't lie on television where people can fact you. None of them have been prosecuted.
They have been.
Which soldier?
I know they have been.
Which soldier was prosecuted for dropping a grenade on a child?
There are dozens
You're lying
of them who,
on national TV. Piers Morgan can come back on the next episode and tell everyone that you're not telling the truth.
Dozens of them have been prosecuted.
Not a single Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child. That is a lie. A demonstrable lie. Everyone watching right now.
Hang on.
I'm sorry, you can't say things.
Hang on. Just to be clear, Alan, what Mehdi is saying is that no Israeli soldier has been prosecuted for deliberately killing a Palestinian child since this war began. Is your information different to that?
Absolutely different. I know for a fact because I was involved in the negotiations with the International Criminal Court, and I arranged for Khan to come to Israel and see the evidence of what has been done, how people have been prosecuted, how the Israeli legal system has been responsive. So I have all the data and all the information.
Name them. Come back on this show and name those soldiers.
It's true that they've been
come back on this show, Alan, and name those soldiers. I challenge you. Now, I'll finish my point. You interrupted me. Hold on. You interrupted me. I never interrupted you. You've interrupted me twice now on this show.
I didn't interrupt you.
You did, actually. You interrupted to make false claims.
I did ask Alan a question.
Well, let me finish my point. Actually, my second point, Piers, was to you. I dealt with the Gershon Baskin and the deliberate killing of kids. They just killed 6 kids queuing up for water.
I was about to talk about
yesterday. They killed 9 kids queuing up for nutritional supplements last week. Stop interrupting, Alan. Everyone can see you do it.
And it's under investigation.
Stop interrupting, Alan. Otherwise, I'll do it to you, and you really won't like it. Piers, let me make my point to you that I'm trying to make. You mentioned the New York Times. I'm glad you've mentioned the New York Times several times. The New York Times piece, the long piece, has a lot in there. 2 important points for you, Piers. I've been coming on the show for over a year talking to you about Gaza. Last April and July, the New York Times reports that Netanyahu's own generals told him, there's no military strategy left. There's nothing more we can do. Stop this war. Netanyahu overrode them. So when I was on this show and you were telling me, of course, they're just defending themselves. What else should they be doing? At that time, when I was on this show, Piers, generals were telling Netanyahu there's no war left to be had. They also make it very clear in this piece, that the government would have fallen apart had Netanyahu not prolonged the war because he wanted to avoid prosecution. Yeah. And I'm sorry that we needed the New York Times to say that, because I was saying that on this show to you, Piers. Many people were saying that this war is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. This is about Netanyahu trying to avoid prison. I know Alan is an expert on criminals. He's defended some of the worst criminals in the world.
Lawyers do defend criminals.
Well, he defends some of the worst people. Epstein, Netanyahu.
Yeah, but lawyers.
No one forced him to defend these
people. Some of the best.
Piers, no one forced him to go volunteer to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
You can't make aspersions against lawyers.
I can actually. I can say you don't need. You don't need to.
It's not very credible to do that.
Really?
Lawyers do their job.
Hold on, Piers. Somebody forced Alan Dershowitz to defend Netanyahu. He said he's proud to do it. No one forced him to do it.
Which criminal should he defend?
I'm proud to do it.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu.
He's a criminal lawyer.
You're proud to defend Benjamin Netanyahu, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. You defend the worst people in the world.
I was proud. Yes. And I was proud to defend Bill Clinton, and I was proud to defend Ted Kennedy. I've defended people I've also defended Palestinians who were charged with offenses in Israel. I've also defended Palestinian students at Harvard who wanted to put up a Palestinian flag.
Have you defended Netanyahu's corruption trial? I think you've only defended his war crimes.
But you know what, Mehdi? I do think it's a very lame.
No, I've been involved in his corruption trial too.
It's a very. I've always felt, and a lot of people try this with Alan Dershowitz, because there are lots of things you can argue with Alan about what he believes. But when people go ad hominem about him being a lawyer defending bad
Piers,
people...
Well, I'm going to respond now since both come
most criminal lawyers I've ever met at some stage defend pretty dodgy people.
Piers, look at that.
It's their job, literally their job.
We're looking at our cameras. Look at your camera and say honestly that you would say to Saddam Hussein's law or Slobodan Milosevic's law or Vladimir Putin's law, you wouldn't say a word about people who choose in the West to go defend those people? Yes, you would. It's just you give Netanyahu a pass. I see him in the same league as Saddam Hussein, Vladimir Putin, Slobodan Milosevic. If a Westerner chooses to go defend these people, no one forced him to. I'm going to, question.
All right, pause. Did you just see what happened there? Because I need you to appreciate this for a second. Mehdi Hasan is not just arguing. He's doing something way more dangerous to Dershowitz. He's using Dershowitz's own logic against him. Think about it. Piers keeps saying lawyers just do their job. That's how the system works. And Mehdi goes, okay, fine, cool, I agree with that. But then he flips it completely. He says, would you say the same thing about Putin's lawyer? Would you sit there with a straight face and tell me you wouldn't question that person's moral choices? And suddenly Piers has nothing to say, because Mehdi just exposed the double standard live on air. And here's the thing that most people miss watching this. Dershowitz keeps interrupting. Watch his body language. Watch how many times he jumps in before Mehdi finishes a sentence. That's not confidence, that's panic. When a man starts interrupting this much, it's because he knows the next sentence coming out of Mehdi's mouth is going to land like a bomb. And it does, every single time.
Do they have a right to defend?
Of course they have a right to a defense.
Then they should have a right.
But no one forced...
Well, hang on. Then they should have a right to have a lawyer defending them.
Of course.
You understand that?
Understood.
That's how the legal system works.
So if a British...
justice
Hold
works.
on, Piers. If a British lawyer volunteered to go defend Putin, you wouldn't cast any moral aspersions on them. Don't lie, Piers. You know you would.
So just to be clear, who should Alan be defending? Give me some criminal names.
People in New York, people wherever he lives.
Which criminals?
Why does he have to go defend Netanyahu?
Give me some names.
Hold on. Why does he have to go defend Netanyahu?
I
think it's a crazy
cases
I look at
pro bono.
vile people and I wonder, why would you volunteer to go defend that person?
Because they're lawyers. Anyway, let's move on to the more substantive part of this. So, I mean, Alan, this incident that Mehdi referenced, the strike on a water distribution point at a Gaza refugee camp that killed 10 people, including 6 children, wounded 17 more. The IDF said it intended to hit an Islamic Jihad militant, but a technical error caused the missile to miss its target. But, you know, having technical errors that wipe out 6 kids in a refugee camp at this stage of this war.
Terrible.
And these stories are coming every day now. How does this end?
War is hell, and these kinds of accidents happen all the time. Many Israelis have been killed by Israeli-friendly fire. Many, including a relative of mine who was killed by friendly fire. Accidents happen. Israelis immediately announced that they would investigate, and if warranted, it might have been a pure accident, but if warranted, there'll be prosecution. Israel prosecutes its own criminals, and it does it all the time. And of course, Hamas rewards them. The Palestinian Authority pays terrorists to kill, pay for slay. There's an enormous difference. The United States government had many cases of accidental killings during every war we fought. And the difference between a democracy and a tyranny is that in a democracy, you investigate. And you investigate.
Adam, before I go back to Mehdi, Just on a profound level, I ask you this question: in what way is it remotely proportionate that Israel has now killed anything between 70 and 100,000 people on the Palestinian side, of which, let's say a quarter, maybe a third are Hamas terrorists? We don't know, but let's say that is the proportion of that number that have been killed, which means maybe 60,000 civilians have been killed. In what way is that remotely proportionate to an attack that killed 1,200 people, of which I think 800 were civilians, and wounded many more, and kidnapped 250? It's so disproportionate now that what concerns me about this, if I'm an Israeli, a moderate Israeli, so not a far-right Israeli or an extremist or any of these things, I'm just an average Israeli citizen watching what my government is doing in Gaza now, and seeing the fury that is building around the world to this daily slaughter. This is terrible for Israel. It's terrible for Israel's reputation.
So here's what just happened in this entire clip. A Harvard-trained lawyer with decades of experience came onto one of the biggest debate shows on the internet and got completely dismantled, not with screaming, not with insults, but with facts. Specific, named, verifiable facts. And the most revealing moment of this whole thing, when Mehdi says, "Come back on this show and name those soldiers, name them," and Dershowitz says, "I'm happy to do that." He never came back. He never named them because there was nothing to name. Now listen, whether you agree with Mehdi Hasan or not, whether you agree with anything said in this video or not, you have to respect what just happened here. This is what a real debate looks like. This is what holding someone accountable actually looks like. If this video made you think, even for 1 second, hit that share button, because conversations like this one, the world needs more of them. And I'll see you in the next one.